Are we sitting comfortably? Are the lights turned down low, and the shadows lengthening in the room? Are the curtains closed, and are the doors locked? Good. Then let us begin.
But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along, and so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your key. If I'd have known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go.
Long gone now. Nero's was the place to be on a Friday or Saturday night in the 1970s and 80s. Open from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. to the over 18s, it featured a colourfully lit dance floor, adorned with spangly disco ball, a resident DJ, cheap early entry, alcohol and food, and periodically it hosted live bands. A large music hall situated by the pier entrance opened on the 5th of July 1877 on the Marine Esplanade in Ramsgate. It was called the Granville Marina Music Hall, but known as the Marina Palace of Varieties, and sometimes the Establishment. It was capable of seating over 1,000 people. The theatre began life as a shared bar and dance music hall and circus space, and later it would host variety performances. From the Graphic magazine on the 25th of August 1877 we have a description. The hall is 50 feet wide and more than 100 feet in length. It is tastefully decorated in colour and gold and lighted by an ornamental skylight and side windows of tinted glass, and the recesses around the walls are arranged as an aquarium and winter gardens. The Marina Theatre was altered in 1896 at a cost of £1,320 to include a new lobby, cloakrooms and refreshment rooms. On the 18th of May 1908 it began screening films as the Electric Picture Palace, and soon after it became the Excelsior Picturedrome. The building would become part of the adjacent Marina swimming pool complex when that opened on the 21st of July 1935. Much additional concrete structure was added to the entrance of the theatre at this time. In the Second World War, the building was requisitioned during the Dunkirk evacuation. 850 private boats sailed from Ramsgate to Dunkirk between the 26th of May and the 4th of June 1940 as part of Operation Dynamo, helping to rescue more than 336,000 British, French and other Allied soldiers. The theatre was used as a first aid station for injured soldiers coming off the boats on their return to Ramsgate. In 1963 the building was transformed into the popular Supreme Ballroom, which also hosted live bands such as Manfred Mann, the Yardbirds, The Who and The Kinks in 1966, Cream and Pink Floyd in 1967, and Deep Purple in 1968. But by 1969 the Supreme Ballroom had closed. The venue was revamped and opened in 1970 as Nero's Nightclub. The club was on multiple levels with stairs going down to the dance floor at the bottom, which featured illuminated glass panels and a DJ console to one side. A balcony overlooked it on all four sides, a stage for visiting bands, with a large screen for the projection of light effects behind this.
We've presented you with a glimpse into a picture of Ramsgate, where you'll find all the ingredients for a marvellous holiday. Whether you like excitement or prefer to take it quietly.
In the early 1990s, the renovated club was relaunched as First Impressions, but by the end of the decade it was all over. With the demise of the Marina swimming pool, the demolition of the 1905 Marina lift, the closure of toilets and the general loss of trade for the area, the old hall suffered from fire damage and was eventually controversially demolished by the local council in the late 1990s. The viaduct-like structure supporting Marine Road was simply left to crumble and remains in poor condition to this day. Whilst I must admit that nightclubs, loud music, and lots of people around have never been my forte, preferring country pubs, armchairs, roaring fires and a selection of real ales. If I had known that the place was haunted, I would certainly have tried to visit, hopefully, after hours. An opportunity missed, as the area is now partly under a modern apartment block with the rest concreted over as a car park. Such is progress, they say. For it seems that the club, which was hugely popular in the 1970s and 80s, had a reputation amongst the staff for being creepy. Many have admitted to feeling apprehensive if they had to go in when it was shut and empty, and one former owner's dog refused to go in there at all. Staff have remarked that they would frequently experience the unmistakable smell of Brill cream, not something in great use in this period. And perhaps linked to this was the reported apparition of a man dressed in World War II uniform spotted on the balcony. As the dress code on the door prohibited the wearing of uniforms, and other things, the bouncer assumed that he'd made his entrance via a fire escape door or similar, and was on his way over to promptly eject him from the club. However, in temporarily losing sight of the man as he passed an obscuring pillar, passing this he was surprised to see that the uniformed man had simply disappeared. The manager at the time stated that he too had seen the same man earlier in the day, at the time when only staff were admitted through the doors. The man was observed to be rolling a cigarette. A former receptionist at Nero's in the mid-1980s related to me that there was a noticeable cold spot to the left as you reached the bottom of the stairs. The area itself had an unpleasant feeling to it, which many staff were aware of. Some spoke up about their experiences there. Bar staff in the nightclub reported bottles flying off the bar and smashing on the floor, and of doors which opened and shut on their own. This, I have been told, was a common occurrence, as were discarnate voices and dark shadows moving about. Somebody speaking French was heard, and screams and dark shadows were reported emanating from the end of the corridor. While alone in the staff room toilets, one witness reported hearing the sound of somebody laughing very loudly. Thinking it was a prank, he checked the area but found no one around. Returning swiftly to the lounge to try and catch the prankster out, he found that everyone was still sitting there. Often at locking up time, staff, hearing strange voices, were so convinced that someone had hidden in there that the club was searched, but nobody was ever found hiding. As a postscript, there also seems to have been a potential time-slip episode here, for whilst one of the bouncers was standing on the balcony on his coffee break, he alleges that he saw the entire building transform. It was decorated differently to the modern nightclub, and he was surprised to see it full of beds. Perhaps this was returning back to the period when briefly the Second World War touched this building and left an indelible mark upon it.